Assalamu alaikum, warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. Welcome, O dear friend, blessed by Allah. I pray that we are granted safety in this world and the hereafter, in a grand palace where stands King Dzulqarnain, a ruler blessed with extraordinary intelligence, knowledge, and technological capabilities. Nothing escapes his knowledge, no device that he cannot create, and no language that he cannot master. He sits upon his throne, flanked by trusted advisors, considering the next steps of his expedition. King Dzulqarnain, we have reached the pinnacle of progress in this land. Will we stop here? Asked Ilyas, one of his wise advisors. Dzulqarnain smiled and replied, "Progress is merely a map that is never fully drawn, Ilyas. There is still one expedition that we must undertake, a mission that comes from the Lord of all worlds." Dzulqarnain reflected for a moment, then picked up the mushaf from the table beside him. He spoke softly while pointing to a few verses in harmony with Surah Al-Kahf in the Quran. "There are signs here that Allah has guided me toward a great mission. This expedition will not merely be a physical journey, but also a spiritual one." The advisors fell silent, captivated by the wisdom of their king. After closing the mushaf, Dzulqarnain rose from his throne. And with determination, said, "We will embark on an expedition to the western part of the earth, then to the east, and finally, we will end at a place enclosed by two great mountains. There, we will find something that Allah has decreed as our task." Zayd, his military advisor, felt curious and asked, "Does this mean we will face threats or enemies, sire?" Dzulqarnain gazed at Zayd with eyes full of wisdom and replied, "It is not always the visible enemy that poses a threat, Zayd. Sometimes the greatest threat comes from within ourselves, the inability to do what is right, even when we have the power to do so." Everyone present was deeply moved. Their king not only led them in warfare or technological advancements, but also in the search for meaning and truth. Dzulqarnain stepped out of his palace and gazed at the vast expanse of the sky. He whispered in his heart, "Now is the time. Bismillah, it is time to fulfill the call of the Almighty." King Dzulqarnain prepared to begin an expedition that would not only determine the future of his kingdom, but also have an impact on all humanity. Together with his troops, he prepared for the long journey. Ships equipped with advanced technology and sufficient supplies were readied. The king carefully selected his troops, ensuring they were not only physically strong, but also spiritually resilient. Dzulqarnain said to General Zayd, "I need troops who can think and reflect, not just fight." Zayd responded, "You always teach us, Your Majesty, that this is more than just an expedition, isn't it?" Dzulqarnain looked at him and said, "Yes, this is a quest for truth, Zayd. We must always be prepared, both physically and spiritually." They set off, Bismillah. After traversing various challenging and winding terrains, Dzulqarnain and his troops finally arrived in a valley flanked by two large mountains. There, they discovered a community that appeared very different. The people of this village seemed confused, speaking in a language that was foreign and sounded like strange noises. At first, communication was almost impossible. One soldier suddenly exclaimed, "Destroy them." "No," Dzulqarnain firmly commanded. "We did not come to conquer, but to understand and help." With his expertise in languages and communication technology, Dzulqarnain managed to find a way to converse with them, albeit limitedly. The villagers began to understand the purpose of their arrival. "Who are you?" asked one of the village leaders in broken speech. "I am Dzulqarnain, a king sent by Allah to help mankind. Why do you seem so fearful?" "Ya'juj, Ma'juj, Borlham, Kong." "Big," replied the village leader with an expression of terror. Though the words sounded fragmented and disjointed, Allah granted Dzulqarnain the understanding of their speech and the fearful expressions on their faces. Shortly thereafter, loud footsteps were heard from behind the mountains, and out emerged figures that appeared strong and ferocious. "Ya'juj and Ma'juj have arrived. Who dares disturb our land?" demanded the leader of Ya'juj with a thunderous tone. Dzulqarnain answered firmly, "I am Dzulqarnain, and I have come in the name of justice and truth." The leader of Ya'juj sneered, "Justice? Truth? We possess power, and that is our justice." Dzulqarnain calmly replied, "Power without morality is a disaster waiting to happen." Faced with two simultaneous challenges, the community in need of assistance and the threat of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Dzulqarnain felt the weight of responsibility, but remained determined. He knew that this expedition was part of a greater mission. Dzulqarnain realized that every journey undertaken was a step toward eternal wisdom. As the sun set behind the two great mountains, one thing became clear: Dzulqarnain's mission was far from over. However, he knew that every step he took was a step toward the truth he sought. The expedition had just entered a more serious phase, and what would happen next remained a mystery that could only be unraveled through wisdom and faith. After holding a closed meeting with his advisors, Dzulqarnain understood that time was of the essence. Ya'juj and Ma'juj, two nearly undefeatable forces, were about to launch a major assault. Zayd stressed, "My lord, we can prepare defenses or launch an attack, but will that be enough?" Dzulqarnain replied, "We must do more than simply defend ourselves. We must also protect those who cannot protect themselves. For this, we need a long-term solution." The wise king realized that Ya'juj and Ma'juj could not be defeated, even if he mobilized his forces from the west to the east. Inspired by divine insight, he understood that even in the future, Prophet Isa and Imam Mahdi would seek refuge from them, as no one could stand against their might. The only solution to end the villagers' suffering was to enclose Ya'juj and Ma'juj behind a barrier. Dzulqarnain then summoned the best engineers and architects in his kingdom. He declared, "We need to build a wall, a barrier that is not only strong, but also a symbol of the justice and truth we uphold." This proposal was met with enthusiasm, but also concerns. Amir, the chief engineer, asked, "What materials will we use, my lord? And do we have enough time?" Dzulqarnain paused briefly and then responded, "We will use a mixture of iron and molten copper. As for time, Allah will help us if our intentions are pure. Bismillah." As the wall began to take shape, Ya'juj and Ma'juj appeared again, this time with an air of arrogance. "Why are you doing this, Dzulqarnain? You could be a stronger king by joining forces with us," they offered. Dzulqarnain gazed at them and replied, "Strength without morality is merely a disaster waiting to happen." Ma'juj added, "You are wasting a great opportunity, Dzulqarnain. We could give you wealth, power, and glory that would last until the end of time, surpassing your reign from east to west." Taking a deep breath, Dzulqarnain responded wisely, "Wealth and power without justice are corruption, not glory." He then turned to his troops and commanded, "In the name of Allah, seal them." Ya'juj and Ma'juj did not resist, believing they could easily demolish the wall. "Build your strongest wall, Dzulqarnain." "Surely you know our true strength," they taunted. Some time later, the wall was completed. The villagers, initially frightened, now expressed gratitude and joy. They offered gold and silver as payment, but Dzulqarnain refused, saying, "What my lord has granted me, such as the power and wealth you see, and even that which you do not see, is far better than what you offer. Remain faithful and do good, that is enough." Standing before the great wall, Dzulqarnain reflected on all that had transpired. He felt that his mission was not over, but that a significant step had been taken. He spoke to his troops. "We all have walls within ourselves, walls that separate truth from lies, justice from injustice. Today, we have built a physical wall, but do not forget to build the walls within yourselves as well." As the sun set, painting the sky with its hues, Dzulqarnain and his troops departed the village. They were confident they had left behind more than just a wall. They had left a legacy of wisdom. The winter arrived, covering the mountains with thick snow and freezing rivers. The villagers began to worry, wondering if the newly built wall would be strong enough to withstand the forces of nature, as well as the might of Ya'juj and Ma'juj from within. Dzulqarnain, now back in his palace, received news of the villagers' concerns. Deciding to return to the village, he made the journey once more. Upon his arrival, Dzulqarnain was warmly welcomed, but he could see the anxiety in the eyes of the villagers. He saw that the wall was still intact, unchanged from the way he had left it. Dzulqarnain said to the villagers, "Come to the village center tonight. I have something to share with you." That evening, a bonfire blazed brightly in the center of the village. Dzulqarnain stood before the villagers and spoke. "This wall is merely a physical structure. The true strength lies in our faith and our unity." A young child raised his hand and asked, "Does this mean we no longer have to fear, O great king?" Dzulqarnain smiled and replied, "Fear is a part of life, but do not let it control you. Pray and act with righteousness, and Allah will take care of the rest." Soon after, a small earthquake shook the village. The wall appeared to crack, but it stood firm. However, the villagers mistakenly believed that the wall had actually cracked due to their fear. Zayd approached Dzulqarnain and said, "You were right, my lord. This wall is more than just bricks and metal." Dzulqarnain added, "Yes, it is a symbol of what we can achieve when we choose to act not out of fear, but out of hope and justice." He then turned to the Ya'juj and Ma'juj. "No matter how strong you are, you will not break this wall. But your fear, your conflicts, your slander among mankind will destroy it from within." As Dzulqarnain returned to his kingdom, he carried with him a sense of satisfaction and happiness that was hard to describe. He knew he had helped a village, but more than that, he had helped build a wall in the hearts and souls of its people. Years passed and generations changed. The story of Dzulqarnain and his wall became a legend, told from one generation to the next. Although King Dzulqarnain had long passed, the wisdom he left behind continued to live on in the hearts of the villagers. Rumors spread that the wall held mystical powers, that it could disappear, or even that it had transformed into something unrecognizable. One day, a group of children gathered at the site where the Great Wall was said to have been built, wondering what it must have been like. One of them asked, "Do you think the story of King Dzulqarnain and his wall is real?" A boy replied, "Whether it's true or not, what matters is the wisdom we can take from the story. Even though we no longer see the wall, we can feel that our lives are no longer ruled by fear. It's hard not to believe." And with that, the legend of Dzulqarnain lived on, not just as a tale of a great king, but as a story of faith, hope, and the strength that comes from unity and justice. This is the end of our meeting for now. May the wisdom that we have heard and reflected upon serve as a guide in our lives. Wallahu alam. Only Allah knows what is best for us. May we all remain on the straight path, blessed with wisdom, firm faith, and the strength to face every trial. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you to those who have liked, subscribed, and joined us on this journey. May Allah grant us all entry into His eternal paradise and bless every step we take.